Hi folks, here we are again. It's Richard here, and I've got the famous Brad Fuller with me. If you've watched any of these others, you'll get the gist. This is great. It's blown my mind. I hope you get a lot out of this. So here we go. You're responding to the situation. That's
right.
So that's another way of actually articulating everything that we've said, really. If you need to be not just behaviour, we're beyond behaviour, right? Because we've got everyone's on the same page. So, but we're responding to the situation pedagogically or in terms of the learning space. So then you move into you might start a whole nother song, so you end up doing something that you had no plan of doing. Have you had those lessons where you get the lesson 30 seconds before you walk in the room, or you're in mid-flight and it's a third of the way through the lesson, and then because of the influence for the students, because you're a learner, because of what's happening, you go on another direction, and it's one of the best lessons you've ever taught, and you couldn't have planned it in a million years.
So I think you read Jack Reacher novels, don't you?
Yeah, I think you might have put me under him.
So Jack Reacher says the first thing that goes to hell is the plan.
Yeah.
So Jack Reacher is a military man, right? And so, yes, plan your brains out, but the first thing that goes to hell in a battle is the plan. So then you got to think on your feet. People are shooting at you and bombs are going off, right?
Exactly.
Or a student comes in, or just on the way, a student says something just as you're coming into the classroom about, I went to see a gig last night and it blew my brains out. Or somebody, a famous musician just died, or something's happening in the world and it's hot.
Yeah.
So you need to deal with it in that lesson, or somebody says something. And so that's beautiful, I think, because then you're improvising. Maybe we could think about it like the TPaC model, which talks about technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge. So you always, as an educator, you're thinking about what technology is available, what's the pedagogy, how can I put that technology to work for my students? That's the pedagogy for the benefit of human flourishing. And then what content knowledge, what's the scope of mathematics education? And so for me as a music educator, that's my learning my scales and my practice room as a music educator is every day I'm trying to get more technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge so that when I walk into the classroom ready to nudge, if someone says, hey, Mr. Fuller, I just did this thing, or I'm excited about this, and I can go, I just listened to a podcast on that last night. I just checked it out. Or listen to this. Oh, wow, that's really cool. You know what I mean? And then so I'm just getting excited talking about it. And we're nudging, and there's momentum. People are moving somewhere. It's happening today, now.
It's organic.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to get there. And people, I think, if we could just realize that students aren't empty vessels, and they don't only get mathematics from us.
Yes.
They get mathematics from life. Yeah. and they've got...
And music and every other subject, every other...
Correct. And as you get better at all of them, you begin, like Steve Jobs says, you begin to connect the dots. So you make a dot here with, oh, wow, there's 7 notes in a scale in music, or there's 8 notes in some scales, octatonic scale, and whoa. And then you do something in maths, and then you've got another dot. And then as you start to get more dots and connect them, you go, wait a second, the more I know about everything, the better I get. So if we set this up right, we say to them at the end of year 12, have a great life, and they do, because they're still in the game.
Yep.
And so we didn't teach them everything, but they've got the rest of their life, and they're still in the game. And versus we privilege the content over the person, and we teach them 13 years of content, and they never learn another thing ever again.
Yeah, because it was not a pleasant journey.
It wasn't. Yeah. And you haven't made it valuable for them. You haven't helped the students to see the value. When we give students opportunities to go, whoa, that's valuable to me right now. And I can see that the more I learn about it, the more exciting it is. So the more I want to learn, I want to do this for the rest of my life. That's the sort of people that we want to be around, surely.
Yeah,
And that's the kind of people. They're world makers.
So I just wonder, this was a revelation for me, because I'm thinking, God, if anyone came to me and said, Richard, you need to change your we're a bit worried about your test scores, and we want you to teach like this because, the data says, and data. I just think I would have said, well, thanks for your input, but I'm going to do my thing. Like, I honestly don't think I would have. So I wonder how many teachers are inspired by being told they need to teach this particular way because statistically it's going to produce better results. Like that, to me, it's like, it's a real head spin for me to even get my head around what that would be like. And yet that's the inference, isn't it? We, as teachers, we have got no idea really what we're doing. We need the authorities to tell us how to teach in this particular way because it's going to get us a better result. And yet in Finland, we can't talk about Finland because it's a heterogeneous society or something? That's irrelevant for a lot of things. How about the fact that they value teachers as actually knowing what they're on about? Admittedly, they're all masters people, but anyway. So they gift them, say, hey, Brad, you're the teacher. We know you know what you're doing. You go and knock yourself out. You do what you need to do. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's got something to do with why it's successful. But how does it feel for a teacher to be told this is how you have to teach because we want you to get better scores?
Well, I was told that, and I only just made it through practicum. So I was just satisfactory enough to pass my practicum, and at the end of my practicum as a trainee teacher, when I finished the uni course, I burnt all of my books, and I said, "That's not for me. I'll never do that." So it's not an option for me.
So then you obviously got a job then you were first year at teacher.
So I was a musician first. So I was at university. I studied education and literally as something to fall back on, whilst I waited for my wife to finish her music degree, and had a horrible time because I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so when they said, this is how this square peg fits into this round hole, I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I can't teach that way. And so, when they say that we all have to line the students up out in two straight lines outside the classroom, can't do it. Yep. You have to shush them. No, I can't teach that way. So, and I think often about, I think a quote attributed to Einstein where he said, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, that's going to be a problem.
Sorry, I just want to butt in. So I took years to get to that point, right? So I was a bit like you, but thinking that to be a real teacher, you had to be that authority, that person that would step in the room and all the kids would just quiet naturally. And so I'm aspiring for that. And of course, it always backfired until I realised, oh, that's not who I am. Here's an idea. Yeah. Why don't I just embrace myself in the classroom?
Yes.
Be me, because I can be a fun-loving guy and run it from there. All of a sudden, I had more control than I'd ever had. I'm thinking, this is better. Why did it take me 10, 15 years to work this out? Whereas you had it from the get-go, so well done.
Oh, well, I just couldn't.
No choice.
Yeah. I didn't know how to do it. And even when I didn't pay much attention at university because I was gigging and teaching was just something to fall back on. And I thought it was all interesting and everything, but it sounded a bit silly and a bit authoritarian and stuff. So I didn't pay much attention. So when I got into the classroom, it took me about 3 years to forget that I said I'd never be a teacher. I found myself in the classroom literally from scratch.
Yeah, right.
So I had burnt all of my books and forgotten anything. I think I had 3 takeaway phrases. So that authenticity necessity was the mother of invention for me. And so what I did is what I keep saying and what I've said to you today. Who am I? What can I do? What have I got in my hands? Who are they? And where can we find this Venn diagram where it says what I'm excited about and what I know about and what I can do, what I'd like to learn about, and to find that in my students that we can engage on initially, and then we can learn the rest together as we go. And that's what I've done. Well, so that's the thing, I think, that, and so I'm passionate about authentic, being an authentic you, and because I didn't know that, and so I thought I was a bad teacher, and I am. I'm a bad teacher
from a conventional perspective of a teacher.
I am and so it's really interesting now as a university lecturer. I can't teach people to teach like that either. So I'm a bad university lecturer as well.
Wow.
But
I would try.
Yeah,
just for the
well, I'm a great me.
Just for the masses, this is one of the best teachers I've ever seen in action. So, but I know what you're saying from the perspective of what a teacher's meant to be.
Yep.
So I think you're saying that when you're reading these, you come across different articles or books on aims and objectives and how you should fill them out for every lesson. You're someone who's gone, what? Pretty much. I could never ever get my head around this whole. I mean, I plan my lessons, but not the way you're meant to. But the whole aims and objectives, like I know what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually creating a course at the moment for new teachers, more on a thinking perspective, which I think is going to be useful. But I'm thinking, what am I going to write about lesson plans and aims and objectives? And you've got to do some planning. You've got to know your content and all that sort of stuff, especially initially. But as for the aims and objectives, I never. It's like, why do I even need to write this down? I just think everyone's got to find their own way. There's no this is what you're going to do, otherwise you're sunk. It's a bit from the old paradigm, isn't it? I think.
I think so. And so to go back a ways, I had a moment when I was teaching with you, when I gave everybody in my year 10 class, and there was quite a few of them, an A for the school certificate in Australia. And I was hauled up to head office in the school. We had some administrators by that point. And they said, you can't give everybody an A. And I said, oh, they're an A. And I said, I'm just a very good teacher. They're very good students. It's an A. And so I got into all sorts of trouble for giving everybody an A. But then 2 years later, those students sat the HSC and the man gave them all an A. And then all of a sudden, because I'd been a maverick, and people would go, we don't know what the heck's going on down in that music classroom.
Yeah, right.
Fortunately, I'm not a maths or English teacher. So in most schools, as long as we've got science, as long as we've got the engine room going okay.
The important subjects.
We're not sure what's going on. We don't really understand music, and that's all a bit weird going on down there. We don't understand it, or I don't know if we like it. But then I give the A's, and they go, you can't give people A's. But then when the man says, actually, they were A's, Brad, and I didn't get any jip after that.
Yeah. But they said, well, we still don't understand him, but he seems to be okay, so we'll leave him alone. But it wasn't like, oh, Brad, tell us what you're doing.
Oh, no. Well, I think education historically has, schools have been places where teachers shut the door on their classrooms, and they don't want anybody to know that they're not as confident as they'd like people to think.
So I had a question written down here. I actually made some notes before this. I haven't referred to them. But this is a good question. What is it about education that gets in the way of education? I don't think we should even start there, but it's basically the antithesis of everything we've said, isn't it? There's so much stuff, I think, that gets in education. It's, to be a good teacher, I think there's actually a lot of stuff that gets in the way of education. If you agree that education is what you were talking about earlier, which is let's co-create a situation where it's the learning's happening and we're doing life in the moment, full engagement, cohesion, et cetera, et cetera. So look, Brad, no one's going to listen to us because we're too left field, Brad. So, hey, it was fun.
Yeah, so don't do it like us. Do it like you though. Yeah, and
always ask. Yeah.
So I found because it doesn't look like everybody else, then oftentimes it does upset people.
Yeah.
And oftentimes just by us being us, Richard, I think we make people uncomfortable because we cause people to just ask the question,
Well,
is there something I can improve? And oftentimes people don't want to ask those questions because they are uncomfortable questions.
I feel for people like in a lot of maths departments that are really big, right? So there's 9A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or whatever. I mean,
Yes.
they're not labelled like that anymore. But so, and I'm a year 9 teacher, and I'm wanting to do what I do, but everyone's got to follow the same methods because we don't want kids to be comparing. Guess who becomes the setter of how we do things? It's always the lowest common denominator. It's not like, well, who's the most innovative? Let's do that. It's all,
Yes.
so I would have, if I didn't have these weird kind of experiences where I could do my own thing, I would have encountered that, and I think I would have just walked and gone, because I couldn't do it. Once I'd stepped out of being Mr. Conservative teacher, which was hell because it never worked, and I knew it didn't work, and the kids hated it, and found a better way. There's no going back. You can't go back.
No. Well, you were never there in the first. I mean, the crazy thing is, you were never there in the first place. There's nothing to go back to.
I was just trying. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a beautiful saying. It's the never again and the not yet. You kind of in that liminal space.
Yeah.
You can't go back, but you're not there yet.
All right.
So that's that driving force as an educator that says, "Oh, I'm not going to rest on my laurels because that actually wasn't working for me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep looking forward and keep asking the questions: what went right, what went wrong, what am I going to try differently next time?"
And wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well, hang on. Hang on.
Always a good thing.
What a great thing. So, if you're a teacher and you don't have a Richard in your life, go out and find one, because this is how you get better as a teacher, by finding people that get you excited about teaching.
So what's your message for a first year out teacher? Because you can't suddenly launch yourself into this thing where it's a co-created, learner/teacher environment, and where you can't even be thinking like that. You're just trying to survive and get better at the basics. So, but I think it's about thinking. I think these sorts of discussions are really important, like things to think about as a teacher, because no one talks about this.
Mm-mm.
And yet without it, you're going nowhere. You're going to do the same year 20 times.
Yep. You need to ask yourself, am I an intellectual or am I a technician? Am I here to do the job that other people tell me to do, or am I here to create the job? Intellectual versus technician. And an intellectual says, why? Why are we doing this? What are we doing? How can we do it better? What just went right? What just went wrong? So when I teach this lesson again, and let's say I'm going to be a maths teacher for the rest of my life, am I going to teach the same lesson every time? I've got 7C coming in. I just taught 7D. I've got 7C coming in next. Am I going to teach the same lesson? Or did I just learn something? What went wrong? What went right? What am I going to do about it? I think it starts with, who am I? What do I have? And who are they? And what do they need? Where are we? And it starts with just getting a lay of the land. What have I got? And so as a first year out teacher, you haven't got much.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you're in trouble, guys. You don't know enough, right? You don't know everything. So start with what you do know.
Yeah.
Start with what you do know. Start with what you've got in your hands, and ask those questions. How did that go? Gee, that was a bomb.
Yeah.
What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you're first year out teacher, you're going to have to teach year 7 6 times that same lesson. And so don't teach the same lesson 6 times.
Yeah.
Teach a better lesson every time. If you just make a commitment to just asking what went right, what went wrong, who am I, what have I got, who are they, what do they need, and then dealing with your TPaC each day. I'm going to just try to chip away at a little bit of technology, a little bit of pedagogy, a little bit of content knowledge. Before you know it, you'll realize that actually that's going to take the rest of your life. And you'll be excited about it, because teaching is something that you'll be chasing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what life's all about.
Amen. Awesome. So, Brad, that's it for this chat. That was brilliant. I love that story. that you told about how you just felt teaching wasn't for you, and the way, because I was there when you really embraced your true self. I totally knew you had it, but you didn't fit. You didn't kind of belong in the teacher paradigm. So it's a really good story, and I don't think we're alone. I think there's a lot more of us out there that feel a bit lost but don't sort of talk about it too much. So hopefully you guys gained as much out of listening to that as Brad and I did. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.